I was talking to a friend of mine just on the subject, but off the subject for a second. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and he voted for Kamala, and we were having this debate, and I was explaining to him that a lot of the Democrat-run cities currently, right now, and this
Hmm.
isn't about Democrat or Republican, but just for an example, places like Chicago, and Dalton is included in Chicago to
Yeah.
me, right? Chicago land, right?
Right.
Places like Chicago, places like New York, places like the Bay Area. Um, the leadership that's going on in the corruption is nasty work. It's
Absolutely.
real nasty work, and people really. I think that's why the country voted the way they voted, because
Absolutely.
you got to look at, this is such a great example. I mean, the stuff that she has gotten away with. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody
Is
can stop her, and that's the sad part. Is because nobody can contain her.
well, that's the question. It's like
Like the mayor of Chicago, nobody can stop him. Right? You just got to vote them out.
the corruption is just bad, and it's gotten to a point now where, yeah, people do feel. Imagine if you just an everyday person trying to live your life, under this type of you know these type of leaders, and you feel helpless. You nothing you could do. And what I was explaining to him, I said, people have to understand that. So while people are so fixated on Donald Trump and how much they hate him personally, I get it. But people don't. I was telling my friend, I said, yo, you got to realize that most of people's lives that's affected day in day out is from municipal government and
Yeah,
state government.
absolutely.
That's where you
That's where
suffer the
the votes
most.
should be going the most.
Yes,
But people don't
yeah,
get out for those elections.
that's what I'm saying. But
They
and,
get
and that's what
out
I'm
for the
saying.
president. But when it
Yeah,
comes to your local government, that's when people stop caring. It's like that's what affects your day to day. And
yes,
it's sad because most people will pay taxes year after year and not even go to their own board meetings to see how the tax money is being spent.
yeah.
And it's like, why would you not care how your money is being spent until it's being fucking stolen by her? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. And you know what, Viv? The thing of it is that, to me, Tiffany Henyard, amongst other stories that's happened the past couple of years, but her story, y'all story, Dalton's story, is to me the number one example as to people needing to wake up to local government. It's the number one example. If you can't find no other example to learn from,
Listen, I
you know
have
what I mean?
so many inboxes of people from all around the world just thanking me on what I'm doing. And I'm only just doing what I'm doing because I'm sick of her shit and because I asked people for their votes for her seat. You understand that? But I wasn't myself, and I always say that. I was not me when I did that because I was manipulated. I was listening to her vision, and I really believed that heifer. And now I have to work hard to make sure that people don't give their votes to her again. You got to understand, more people came out for the recall election than she got votes for her actual win for the mayor seat.
Hmm.
So when you talk about that 82%, that 82% was bullshit because Jason had more votes than her.
Right.
And that hurts her pride when you say that because she loves to use that 82%. I want because it was COVID. COVID had just ended. People
Hmm.
wasn't giving a fuck about none of that local elections or none of that.
Exactly.
So the voter turnout was horrible. But even with the low voter turnout, Jason had more numbers than her.
Hmm.
Like you
Hmm.
didn't even have enough people to barely vote for you. And then you mind you, she going against Ronnie Burge. Now that's your police chief. You understand what I'm saying? It's
Well,
always been in the works for them to rob Dalton, just like they robbing Harvey. It's the same thing. These Democrats, and it's sad to say, but a lot of these Democrats, they are trying to keep our communities poor.
you know what, and you know what, Viv, and here's the thing, and I'm glad you said that, because that is exactly why I think a lot of people have left the party. And,
But
again,
they got it. They have to still help their city. But listen, I'm listening.
no, 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 it's all good. No, I was just saying that if you just take a step back and look at what people are doing, it answers the question as to whether they're leading well or not. If most of the Democratic run cities, and again, most of the time when I talk to people about this stuff, people are so caught up in the gang. Crip is like Crips and Bloods,
Right.
GD's Vice Lords. I mean, they looking at it like it's like that, and it's not even about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly, I don't really care. I would vote for either party depending on
Mhm.
what they're going to do, and again,
Exactly.
how they're running stuff. So when you paralleled Tiffany Henyard to Kamala Harris, right? If you look at Tiffany Henyard and you're someone in Dalton who wants to vote, right? Forget about what you got at bingo and the gifts and all that. If you
Hello.
just look at your city and the stuff that's going on, especially if you live there over 10 years, 15,
Hmm.
20 years, and you compare it to what was going on there. I mean, the last time I lived in the area was 2000, and before I moved to New York, New Jersey, was
Hmm.
2004. I moved here in 2005, 20 years ago. Last place I was living in Riverdale.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there was nothing like this going on to this extent back then. You know what I'm
No.
saying? 20 years ago. So my point is that you just have to look at what's going on. The stuff that's going on, the whole world shouldn't even know who Dalton is.
No. The
You know
whole
what
world
I'm
doesn't
saying?
know who Vivian is. Like, let's be honest. I have so many people from all around the world that know who I am strictly because of this bullshit.
Right.
And it's an embarrassment. But the people that come up to me are just thanking me for what I do.
Yeah.
But people see us at these meetings. We can't even get answers from her, so we have to degrade her. That's the
Yeah.
only way you get a response out of that heifer is to degrade her. You have to go up there and tell her about herself because you're ruining our town. You're ruining everything that Dalton has stood for. And
Hmm.
then now you making it so bad where the state might have to come in to bail us out because that's just how bad of financial ruins that we are in. And people
Hmm.
have to understand that Dalton can't thrive or make it with some type of financial gain. You don't
Yeah.
even own businesses in your own town. Every business is you blocking their business license, telling William Moore to make sure he go and lie so that he can say everything is wrong with these businesses so they won't be up to code. William Moore doesn't even work for Dalton, and I'm gonna keep saying that. I don't know why that
Well,
strange weirdo keep coming to work, but he don't even work for Dalton.
just on that point too, Viv. What's scary is what you just said as far as the business in any given town. When you start driving business away,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And I've personally been hearing about it for about 2 years about businesses,
Hmm.
what they're going through.
She had
Um,
Menards on her list. You know how long we've had Menards? She didn't want to give
Menard's been there
Menards
forever.
and Domino's Pizza a business license because they don't want
That's
to pay to
insane.
play.
It's insane. And that's the quickest way to destroy
The
your
whole
town.
community. You
The
remember
whole
Pepe?
community.
Pepe's left because of her.
You told me, yeah. Yeah. It's
So it's
it's
like
Pepe's been there a long time.
our people that we've grown up with are slowly but surely just leaving the town because they sick of her.
People have to understand how dangerous that is, and that's why I wanted to to dwell on that for a minute, because if you have businesses who've been in a town for 40 years, I mean, Pepe's was there before we were there. Pepe's was there
Hello.
well over 40 years ago.
Hello.
And if you have any business that's been in a community for 40 years, that should tell you something. That's
Absolutely.
half. That's like more than half of most people's lifetime is 40 years. So if you have
Absolutely.
a business that's been there that long and they're no longer there, obviously something is going wrong with the leadership. And if
Hmm.
you get rid of, like, for instance, I mean, one of the things I always notice, if you talk about South suburban towns in Illinois, Robbins, for example,
So
when
we
you
can
roll
talk
through Robbins, that was one of them towns where you don't see a lot of business. I used to be like, yo, how does this town even survive? Another
yeah,
place, Chicago Heights. It was almost, I don't know how it is now, but at one
same.
point, Chicago Heights had the Ford plant Four
And
Heights, Chicago Heights.
Fort
They
Heights,
had the Ford.
Chicago Heights still look deserted.
Yeah.
They do
Yeah,
have
and it's nothing
some
there.
areas that's still rebuilding, but their taxes is so high, and out here in these suburbs, especially like Chicago Heights, have one of the highest tax increases this year.
That's insane. And if you have no
They don't have
businesses,
any businesses.
if you
Exactly.
ain't if you have no businesses, how can you really survive? You just basically got to tax the residents who are there,
Absolutely.
who don't even make that much money on a medium scale. So